That's right, there was a bit of drama in the anime community. Kaguya-sama Love is War was the first rom-com to not only break the top 10, but, become the highest ranking anime of all time. And, it's the first time in 10 years that the previous holder had stepped down on my anime list at this. Love is War is short and sweet. Not that it's a short show, 3 seasons so far with more likely to come, plus a movie coming out. But in terms of the way the show is built up. Every episode consists of 3 to 4 smaller episodes. Most episodes contain 3 for the record, and for every small episode you get a small title. Notice how every title expresses a desire, making sure you know exactly what is at stake. In fact, I would go as far as to refer, or if we were to use fancy words, paraphrase Alfred Hitchcock in this choice. If we have an innocent chat and there is a bomb under the table that the audience don't know of, they will be shocked when it explodes. We will have a reaction, but that's it. But let's say we let the audience know that there's a bomb. Let's even add that it's going to explode in 15 minutes. And just for good measure, we will leave a watch in the background. Well, all of a sudden, the audience, in this case we, are very tense watching the whole scene, invested to see what happens next. Because we know what is at stake. Oh, you like my new watch? See, this time I didn't even have to mention the bomb. This narrative structure helps immensely in helping the audience keep the attention. Add together the silly premise of Love is War, which actually kinda makes sense. We will come back to that later, making it so they can't express their desires clearly, but instead try to manipulate the other into fulfilling it. It essentially takes the previous Hitchcock example and puts it on steroids. Let me explain. Since the innocent chat we so often see is replaced with intense mind games, if knowing the stakes made us invested, the mind games make everything they say matter. Everything becomes interesting and relevant. I would actually like to compare these scenes of Love is War to animes like Death Note. It's not a physical battle, but instead a battle of the wits, a battle of the mind, that feels as intense as watching some of your favorite classical battles shown in anime. Add the final strike that every episode ends with someone winning, and we got ourselves sitting on the edge of our seats. Not to mention the artistic way of animating these mind games, utilizing the format of anime to its fullest, where you animate the feelings of a scene rather than the actual scene, knowing fully well that the audience is aware that this is how the characters feel, that they're actually still in the student council room or wherever the scene might take place, and we got ourselves a real solid show. At this point you might think, so, Love is War has a solid narrative structure and good animation, so what? There are plenty of anime outside the top 10 that have that. Why is it number 1? And if that is where the story ends with Love is War, I would have to agree. It would not deserve the spot simply for nailing those things. Granted, it would definitely not be a bad anime. But that's where we come to the story, and maybe more importantly, progression. You see, characters actually change in this show. For the record, before we begin, I wouldn't necessarily say characters don't change in other shows, or in this case other rom-coms, but please do, because this is insufferable. Going into this, I would like to mention, for those who have found their way here without having watched Love is War, I will try and keep this on a reasonable level of spoilers so you can also enjoy the video, but if you are super sensitive, might I suggest you subscribe so you don't miss the next video instead. Hell, you guys should subscribe as well.
This needs to stop! Now!
There is no understatement to say that this show feels natural. It's insane how natural and realistic changes feel in Love is War. In fact, everything in terms of what the characters do feel real. So much in fact that while writing this script I was contemplating going on a side tangent on one of my favorite anime of all time, Evangelion. But we will leave that for another time. Let's just say that every character is written in a realistic way, and each character has reason for the way they are, think, and eventually how they change. Especially towards the later seasons. You see, there's no need for a major event to make these changes. Instead, over arcs and seasons, the desires and emotions of the characters carry it forward. Sometimes, of course, resulting in big climaxes, but not always. As I said, going into detail will be hard without spoilers, and I've also made a bunch of shorts on these, so you can watch those. And most of these are not dictated by one specific event, but rather much like in real life, grow under time and have its climax in that. Some of them never even do that, which once again is fine. Speaking of the characters of Love is War are painfully relatable sometimes.
How can I have told her so many embarrassing things?
I mean, come on. Why would you do me dirty like that? Holy shit, this hits way too close to home. And if you can't relate yourself, you certainly know or have at least seen someone you think fits the description. I know I said I was not gonna talk about Evangelion, but so far it's only that show, except for Love is War, that has made me go, I know that person. And I don't just mean that as a well-written character, a character that I understand and therefore know. While that's true, I mean, as previously said, real. One of the most important factors in a genre where the stakes are character driven and not about the end of the world. Okay, Evangelion might be a bad example in that case. Stay with me. I used to work in a school, and I knew Asuka. Of course not Asuka, but a girl who was very similar to her. And when you can feel that way, when a character is that real, you also feel more towards that character, or to put it another way, you get emotionally invested. It's no longer just about seeing the character drama play out. You want her to succeed, and just in the same way you can feel the characters of Love is War. This of course also goes for the main stake of the show, making the other one confess. The longer on the show goes, the more we understand about why that becomes so important for them. Once again, no spoilers. To put it simply though, it's not just some weird fixated idea they have in their head, but instead issues related to the core of their characters. In fact, through the show they question this idea a lot, especially when giving romance advice to others, where they will even warn some of the people they're giving advice to, not to go down the same road that they are on. But we haven't talked about one character that goes above all, the one that literally makes the show work. You might have already guessed it, but of course it's the narrator. Now you might say, the narrator is not a real character. In that case I might say, calm down, no need to raise your voice. With that said, he is. He has feelings as well. Now sure, he can't directly interact with the cast, but he supports the supposed premise that whoever gets feelings first loses, and therefore gives every conflict great weight, adding to a sort of meta commentary. In the English dub he's more straightforward, meta, and even has a best girl.
And that's why she's best girl.
Now the narrator does not describe what's going on, or kinda he does, but not in the way you think. Instead of saying X does so and Y do that, he comments on the why. He explains what's going on in the mind games. He makes sure you understand the references and can help the audience understand why characters are acting the way they are, even when the characters are acting in a nonsensical way. Speaking of the other characters, they need a place to meet, the student council. But the student council is not just a convenient, you all meet at the tavern when a man gives you a quest type of deal. No, it's much more. First of all, every character needs the student council, not only as a character within the story, using it as an excuse for hanging out, but also from a meta point, since this community plays a central role in their character development. Once again, you can watch those. Undeniably though, the student council is great for forcing interaction between our characters. And when that's well executed, it can single-handedly carry a show. I've talked about it twice already in my previous videos, but it's of course character dynamics. Having a great plot is good and all that, interesting story, etc. But when every single character has a unique and fleshed out relationship with every other character, when the characters are entertaining just by having their personalities interact with each other, well, let's just say I'm not surprised it was number one. I could honestly watch a whole season of these characters just interacting with each other without any type of character progression or story. Another great interaction is between this video and finding out about the characters of Love is War, which you can do by clicking right here. And yes, I know I was late on covering this. If you want me to be quicker next time, might I suggest donating on Patreon or use the affiliate link down below to buy the first volume of Love is War, so I can justify spending more time on this and less on my real job. With all that said, take care, bye!